Graduation season is here and it's always a super exciting time. However, giving cash in a card is not always super exciting. So I'm going to share with you my favorite way to give cash to a graduate or anyone else for that matter. Hi, I'm Brenda Lambert. I am a TJC licensed instructor for Silhouette, and you found your way to Silhouette Success. I do hope that you're going to join our little crafting community. Now, this video is a bit longer than usual, so let's get started.
Let's start by bringing in our design. We can head up to File and down to Merge. I'm using this file from Creative Fabrica. I'm going to bring in the SVG file. You'll notice here that the score lines are dashed and the cut lines are solid. We're going to select the dashed lines and change them to solid lines. And we are going to switch the color over to blue so we can tell the difference between our cut lines and our score lines. The next thing I'm going to do is grab both of these and group them together and resize this so that it just fits on my 12 by 12 piece of cardstock. This is going to be a money holder gift box. So I want to create an opening for the money to come out of. I'm just going to grab a rounded rectangle and draw that out. Right click and convert to path. Now I need this to be 2.75 inches wide so that the bills can fit through there freely. I think that's a little bit wide though, so let's make it just a bit skinnier. Now I want this to be on the top of the box, and I want the closing flap to be on the bottom. So this will be the bottom flap, this will be a side flap, and this will be the top. Now I could just center it here, but it pretty much goes edge to edge, and that might cause some issues. So what I'm going to do is select this, open up my transform panel, select the third tab, which is rotate, and I am going to rotate by 45 degrees. You can see that that gives that a little bit more wiggle room. However, getting it positioned in the center of this square is going to be a little bit difficult. To ensure proper placement, we can go back to our drawing tools and grab a rectangle. Set my crosshairs right in the corner and draw that out so that it is the same size as the square created by my score lines. Now I am going to go ahead and zoom in on this to be sure that this is accurate. You can see when I click off of it, it's not quite set in there properly. So let's use our arrow keys to bring this down to the line and a little bit over. This side looks like it is coming out too far, so let's bring that back in. And let's take a look at the top. This needs to come up just a bit, and that should be just about perfect. Let's fit this back to the window. We can right click and send this to the back, and now we can see that our cutout is here. Our square is selected. Let's hold down our shift key and select our cutout, and then come up to the top and use our center button. Now that slot is perfectly placed in the middle of our square, and we're going to pull this one aside. We're not going to delete it because we are going to use it in just a bit. Let's right click on our box and ungroup that. Now we're going to select just our cut lines and our cutout, right click, and make a compound path. Let's fill this in with color. My box is going to be green. Now it looks like our score lines have disappeared, but in reality they are just behind the box cutout. So let's send this to the back. Now our score lines are showing up again. We can select both of these, right click, and group. Now I said before that we were going to come back to this square. I'm going to use this to create a border around each of the sides. This is going to be decorative, but it's also going to give it a little more strength. So let's select our box, go over and open up the offset panel. We are going to choose internal offset, and I think I want this a little bit thicker. So let's adjust our distance. I think that looks okay. Let's click apply, select both of our offset and our square, right click and make a compound path. Now I am going to do all of my accents in gold glitter. So while we have that selected, let's go ahead and change this to yellow. Let's bring this to the front. You can set this right in place and it's just going to create a nice border around each of our squares. We do need 5 more of these. Since it's still selected, we can come up here to our duplicate button and just click on that 5 times. Now you can see that we can set all of these in place. And again, that's going to add detail and a little bit of strength to the box. I want to go just a little bit further with the decorations. So let's go back up to File and Merge. This is another file that I grabbed from Creative Fabrica. And I'm going to open up the PNGs so that we can actually see what is in here. Now this is an older file. It is from 2023, but that's okay because I just want some of the silhouettes here. I'm going to use this one and this one here. I also want a graduation cap and a diploma. Okay, now all of our pieces have come in. They are quite large. I'm going to grab all of them and just scale them down a little bit to begin with, and we can work on them more from here. Let's select all of them and switch up the color while we're at it. These don't have to be placed exactly in the middle because we are going to be gluing them on once our box is put together, so we can make it more precise at that point in time. Now the last thing that I want to add is a pull tab for the dollar bills. I want this tab to say congrats grad. Let's open up our textile panel and I will be using script MT bold. I'm going to justify to the center and decrease the line spacing a bit. The next thing I need to do is create an offset around this. Let's select this, open up our offset panel and create an offset. That looks a little bit large, so let's bring down the distance. We want everything to be joined together. That looks okay. Let's click apply. We can move our text away and see that there are still some internal cuts that we do not need. Let's right click and release the compound path. Now we can pull the outline away, select all of these bits, right click and delete. I want my background to be yellow or gold glitter, and I want my letters to be green. Since the back of my gold glitter is white, I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this and flip it horizontally so that will cut out backwards, and I will be able to glue it to the back side of this, and both sides will have glitter showing. Going to go ahead and set the congrats grad up there with the green, and now I'm going to work on getting all of the yellow onto the mat. Let's hold down our shift key and just select all of these yellow pieces and pull them on over. And I do want a little more space in between my boxes here, so I know that they are not overlapping when it cuts. Now we can head over to the send panel. I will be using both of the carriages on my Cameo 5. Carriage 1 will be used for cutting with the auto blade. Carriage 2 will score all of my score lines with the embossing tool. All of these pieces, however, need to be cut. The blue lines are showing me that this will be scored and this will be cut, and that's not what we want. So let's select these pieces here and switch that to cut. And we missed this here. Now all of these pieces will be cut out with the auto blade, but let's switch this over to cardstock glitter. That will adjust the settings here, and this one is ready to go. Now let's take a look at these pieces here. In the send panel, you can see that Congrats grad is going to cut out, but the box is only going to score. That's not what we want. Let's right click and ungroup this. Select our cut lines and set those to cut. Now the outline of the box will cut and the interior lines will score. Let's go ahead and get all of this cut out now. You're going to notice that the machine will cut out the outside of the box first, and then it's going to move on to doing the score lines. The score lines do take a bit of time, but it's totally worth it in my opinion. I was kind of surprised to see that it saved the words for last, and in all honesty, I did end up running the words through a second time because they did not come out great the first time. I switched over to 2 passes and turned on the overcut to get a cleaner cut on those. After that, I did the gold glitter and everything on that came out perfect. The settings are automatically set to 2 passes in the software for this material. When you're putting your box together, the first thing you want to do is make sure all of your score lines are folded neatly. Go on to make sure everything is going to fit right, and then get on to gluing it all together. With this box, you just need to glue the small flaps in place. The larger flaps are part of the top of the box enclosure. Next, I went on to adding all of the decorations, and I am just a messy gluer. One day I will get it down, but it's going to take me a lot of practice. This glue does dry clear, so it wasn't that big of a deal, but I feel like the end product could have been a little bit tidier than it ended up. Now when I went to glue these letters together, the R did become separated from the G, but I was able just to glue it all down to the glitter vinyl, and really you could not tell after everything was set in place. So that turned out well. I was using my tweezers to pick everything up because there was literally no place to touch without getting glue all over my hands. After that, I glued the back onto the front of the pull tab, and I left the bottom unglued so that I'll be able to attach it to the dollar bills. Next up, I am going to tape all of my $5 bills together end to end. I have 20 $5 bills here for a $100 graduation gift. You want to be sure to tape the back sides of the bills as well so that they don't get hung up on that little slot. You're going to start at the end of the line of your $5 bills and just start rolling it up. After you get so far into it, you can just pull it a little bit tighter. It doesn't have to be too tight, but you want to make sure that it's going to fit nicely in the box. Once it was all rolled up, I did add a little bit of double-sided sticky tape to each side of the last $5 bill in the roll. I got it situated in the box with the top of the first bill popping out of the slot. Secure the bottom and attach the pull tab. The few glue spots that are visible will eventually dry and you won't be able to see them, and the pull tab sets right inside there, so it says congrats, and when you pull it up you can see grad and the start of the $5 bills.